Okay, so imagine this, right? You're in Vegas, totally starving, and instead of pulling up like Yelp or whatever you call a shoe company,
Sounds crazy.
it sounds totally bonkers, right? But that was Zappos, right? Legendary customer service. They were known for it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just about selling shoes, it was this whole philosophy.
Yeah, they really understood that customer experience wasn't just like a department. It was the whole thing.
It was everything, and that's what we're diving into today. We found this article. It's from womenentrepreneurs.biz, catchy name. It's called Zappos, Lessons Learned and Mistakes to Avoid. And it is seriously insightful. We're talking about how they came out of nowhere, that famous Zappos culture,
Yeah,
and of course, what we can all learn from their successes and get this, their mistakes.
because everybody makes them. But Zappos is a really great example of a company that like differentiated itself in a really crowded market.
Totally.
It wasn't about the shoes. It was about like the experience around the shoes, which is so smart.
Okay, but rewind for a sec because we're talking early 2000s here, the dawn of like buying stuff online.
Yeah.
And this company is offering free shipping and D returns. Like, that was unheard of.
Yeah.
I mean, were they even making money?
It was a gamble for sure, but it was a calculated risk that, paid off big time
Clearly.
because they knew that to win customers online, you got to like really remove any barrier to buying.
Yeah, make it easy.
Yeah.
And it totally worked. But this article, it doesn't just like sing Zappos praises, it gets into some of their wilder moves. Like, what about that $2,000 to quit offer? Seriously, who does that? Pay people to leave?
I mean, it's wild, but it was an investment in their culture.
Yeah.
It wasn't about like getting rid of people. It was more like, think about being a new hire and you see that offer. It means they're serious about their values.
Wow, yeah. It's like saying, look, we want you to be here because you believe in what we're doing, not just for a paycheck.
Exactly.
It's intense.
It's ballsy,
Right,
but it's about aligning values from the top down.
right.
So when employees feel like they're part of something bigger, like their work means
Like
something,
we're more invested.
way more likely to go that extra mile. Yeah.
Makes you think, how much would you pay to protect your company culture? Right?
Right.
Now, you keep saying Zappos culture. Zappos culture. Was it all like sunshine and roses, or was there more to it?
Well, they were known for, not a lot of bosses. Everyone's kind of equal. And they really pushed employees to do their own thing.
Really?
They called it the liberated business model, which sounds amazing in theory, but
Okay, liberated business model. What does that even look like in real life?
so it meant giving employees a ton of freedom. Like they could make decisions, experiment, take ownership without someone breathing down their neck.
Wow.
Like, you need to send a customer flowers because the package is late. Go for it.
No way.
Crazy idea for marketing. Pitch it to the team. Just go for it.
Wait, so they just let everyone do whatever? No rules?
Well, not exactly no rules, but
That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
it wasn't like a free-for-all, right? They had this like method to the madness. While they encouraged all that freedom, they were also like laser focused on these core values, like customer service, teamwork,
Right.
creating like a fun and a little bit weird culture.
Yeah, they were definitely a little out there.
So those values, it's like they were the guardrails.
Okay.
They guided decisions even when there weren't like, a rule book.
Interesting. So it wasn't just chaos, there was like a method to it.
Exactly.
But I'm guessing, even with those guardrails, a liberated workplace gotta have its downsides, right? I mean, you can't just ditch all the rules and hope for the best.
Oh, for sure. The article actually talks about this, saying this lack of structure sometimes meant things were like inconsistent,
Oh, really?
especially as they grew,
Yeah.
It's like, imagine you order from Zappos twice, and it's like two totally different experiences.
Oh, yeah.
That could be confusing for the customer, even if one of those was like amazingly quirky and the other one's just like, efficient.
Right. You want that same wow factor every time.
Exactly.
So how did they balance that? Did they ever, like, dial back the freedom, add a bit more structure as the company got bigger?
It's interesting because they did experiment with that, right? Like
Yeah.
with more structure
Yeah.
as they grew. But a lot of employees pushed back.
Really?
They were so used to that autonomy,
That makes sense.
It's like this classic challenge, I think, for any business that's growing. How do you grow that unique culture without, like, killing what made you special?
It's like that saying, be careful what you wish for. Like,
Yeah.
you work so hard to grow your business, and then you're like, wait, how do we actually do this without everyone going crazy?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes the Zappos story so fascinating.
Yeah.
They were pioneers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they also made mistakes. They stumbled, they learned, they adapted.
And isn't that the best way to learn sometimes?
The best.
Yeah.
For example, remember all that like fast growth we were talking about?
Yeah.
Well, even too much success can be a problem, right?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, the article mentioned they had some trouble, like, keeping up their customer service as they got bigger. It's like they were growing faster than their systems could handle, almost.
Exactly. And then you see this all the time. Company finds what works, things boom.
Right.
But then it's hard to keep up with the demand without, like, sacrificing quality.
It's a tough balance.
Big time.
So how do you avoid that trap? Is it just hiring more people, or is there something deeper?
It's more about being strategic about your growth, right? Zappos realized they had to invest in more than just people. They needed the right infrastructure, the right systems
Right,
to support that unique customer service they were known for. They were always innovating, always adapting, but it took, like, trial and error
Sure.
in those lessons.
Yeah.
Just as important as the successes.
Totally. And speaking of lessons, this article, it's not just a history lesson, right? There's actual advice here we can all use, even if we're not, building a shoe empire.
Right.
So what are some of those key takeaways that, like, really stand out to you, things listeners can actually put into practice in their own businesses?
I'm so glad you asked that.
Yeah.
This article basically boils down the whole Zappos story, right, into three things: customer service, company culture, and smart diversifying. And these aren't just for, like, billion-dollar companies.
Right.
They work at any size.
Let's do it. So customer service, I feel like we hear that all the time, right?
Well, yeah.
But Zappos, they took it to a whole other level. What would that even look like, say, for a local bakery? It's not like they're sending out pizzas with every croissant order.
It doesn't have to be, right?
Yeah.
It's about, like, the way you think about it.
Okay.
It's not about the big, crazy stuff. It's the small things,
Yeah.
right? So for a bakery, maybe it's remembering what someone usually gets,
Yeah.
Like, oh, they love this bread.
Right, like you want your usual.
Exactly. Or maybe, someone's new, throw in an extra cookie.
I love that.
Or even just taking a minute to, like, actually talk to someone.
Yeah, that human connection.
Make them feel seen. It's got to be human, not just a transaction.
It's so true. It's those little things, right? Make people feel valued, like you said, building those relationships, whether it's shoes or sourdough.
Exactly.
Now, company culture, that feels huge.
Yeah.
Easy to say we want a fun, supportive workplace, but how do you actually make that happen?
Right.
It's got to be more than a ping pong table, right?
Way more.
Zappos had that liberated thing, but that's not for everyone. What are some other ways to, like, actually build a culture people love?
It's about figuring out your values and then, like, actually living them.
Yeah, not just talking about
Every single day. Give employees a voice. Let them grow, and tell them when they're doing a good job.
Recognition is so huge.
Huge. Maybe there's flexible work. Maybe you pay for them to take a class.
Oh, I like that.
Or even just like an open door. They can share ideas.
Yeah. Oh, that open door policy, Zappos was big on that. They really wanted everyone to speak their mind no matter what their job was.
It makes a difference.
It does. And that actually leads us to our last takeaway. Diversifying.
Right.
Zappos didn't just sell shoes forever, did they? They got into clothing, accessories, even stuff for your house.
And that's what's so cool, right? They weren't afraid to try new stuff to grow.
Right.
But it was strategic,
Okay, so not just random.
Not just random. They look at their customers, figured out what they needed, and grew in a way that, like, actually made sense.
So for our bakery, maybe that's baking classes, right? Or
Yeah.
custom cakes. Or maybe they team up with a local coffee roaster, like a whole cafe experience.
Exactly. Find those things that, like, naturally fit with what you already do, but they add value.
It's like taking what you're already good at and using it to, like, spark new ideas.
There you go.
So much to think about. It's really amazing how Zappos showed that putting people first, customers, A&D employees, can make you successful.
It's a good lesson.
It really is. But it makes you wonder, in today's world, is that enough? What else do you think it takes to build a brand that lasts? Something to think about. That's it for our Zappos deep dive, everyone. Hope you got some good stuff out of it, maybe some inspiration, permission to be a little weird, like Zappos.
Why not?
And hey, remember, sometimes a little customer service pizza goes a long way. See you next time.